Hi, I'm Oghenemaro Anuyah from the University of Notre Dame. Today, I'm excited to share our paper, Characterizing the Technology Needs of Vulnerable Populations for Participation in Research and Design by Adopting Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. I'm presenting this paper on behalf of my co-authors, Karla Badillo-Urquiola and Ronald Metoyer. Several frameworks exist in HCI to drive research and design for vulnerable groups. This includes the heuristics for research design with vulnerable populations, the assets-based inclusive design framework, and the conceptual framework for understanding challenges in refugee resettlement. While these frameworks help orient the researcher's involvement when engaging with vulnerable groups, the frameworks do not directly address the participation of the vulnerable individual. To fill this gap, we developed a framework for supporting the participation of vulnerable populations in the research and design of technologies. We used the following research question to guide our work. How can the needs and motivations of vulnerable populations be conceptualized for technology research and design participation? We scoped our research using Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We chose this theory because it emphasizes behavioral motivation and explains this through the fulfillment of needs. To develop our framework, we conducted a systematic review of research articles from various disciplines, including HCI and psychology venues. We particularly searched for papers that focused on vulnerable groups, technology and design contexts, and topics related to each level of Maslow's hierarchy. Our corpus consisted of 84 research articles. We thematically analyzed articles in our corpus to identify technology-related needs corresponding to each level of the framework. The research team then brainstormed suggestions for addressing the identified needs. One aim of developing our framework is to empower vulnerable groups through research and design. To that end, we leveraged an empowerment framework in HCI to describe the various forms of empowerment that may emerge for these groups when researchers use our framework. In this context, empowerment can stem from the acquisition of new skills through taking action or exerting power in research and design, or from an increase in their perceived control or self-confidence. Now, let's dive into the synthesis of our framework. First, we'll explore the deficits-based technology needs. In this case, deficits-based needs arise from a deficit or a population's susceptibility to something and correspond to the first two levels of the hierarchy. At the first level, we have basic needs. These must be met for vulnerable groups to participate in our technology-driven society. People vulnerable due to factors like poverty or age often face challenges like accessing or owning technology devices, such as personal computers, the internet, or smart devices. On top of that, they might lack the skills to use these technologies. For these groups to contribute to research and design effectively, they need access to technology and digital literacy training. Now, that's where we as researchers can step in. We can provide participants with the necessary technology and teach them the digital literacy skills they need. When we do this, we're not just giving them knowledge, we're also helping them gain valuable experience with technology. At the second level, we have safety needs. These must be satisfied for vulnerable groups to feel safe during research. Our study reviewed how groups such as older adults and people with disabilities need extra protection in technology environments. These groups are more susceptible to online risks like financial scams and cyberbullying. Let's not forget about at-risk groups such as domestic abuse victims and racial or gender minorities. They really need safe spaces, whether digital or physical, to feel safe and protected. To address safety needs, researchers have to be transparent about their methods and settings and guarantee no exposure to harm. This way, participants can be more aware of the risks associated with the research and feel a greater sense of safety during the research process. Next, let's discuss the assets-based technology needs, which correspond to the last three levels of the hierarchy. Assets-based needs are derived from the assets or strengths that vulnerable populations possess. The first assets-based need is relationships. Social connections play an important role in the lives of vulnerable and marginalized groups. Think about older adults who need help from family members to navigate technology, or children who rely on their parents to manage safety and privacy settings. These social connections can be assets for research as well. When children participate in research, they can benefit from their parents' emotional support. Plus, when community members come together for research, they can identify their collective strengths and capabilities, fostering a sense of community. As researchers, let's not forget the power of social ties. By including them in our studies, we can promote emotional support and build a sense of community that benefits everyone involved. At the fourth level of our framework, we have self-esteem needs. Vulnerable groups like those defined by ethnicity or socioeconomic status can face some real challenges in technology contexts. Think about members of ethnic groups who do not speak English as their first language. They might have a difficult time navigating digital platforms and accessing information, which can impact their self-esteem. These social identities can also be valuable assets for research and design. Take ethnicity, for example. It can bring a wealth of knowledge, experiences, and perspectives that can enrich and guide our research. So as researchers, it's important for us to acknowledge and explore these social intersectional identities during our work. By addressing self-esteem needs, we are helping them feel confident in their abilities. And finally, we've come to the last level of the framework, which is self-actualization. Self-actualized people exhibit several characteristics that reflect the realization of personal growth and potential. These include autonomy and control. By including vulnerable communities in research, we're actually giving them opportunities for self-actualization. But we have to be careful with how we engage these groups so that they do not feel disempowered. For instance, engaging vulnerable individuals for data collection without follow-up or genuine relationship building may cause exploitation and increased disempowerment. To empower participants, it's important that we leverage justice-centered approaches and align our research agendas with their values and goals. Frameworks like design justice and value-sensitive design can help guide us in this process. By fulfilling self-actualization needs, empowerment can result from them being aware of research outcomes and contributing to impactful research. These can give them a sense of autonomy and feeling valued. In our paper, we offer guiding questions to help researchers empower and support vulnerable groups during research and design. For basic needs, our questions encourages reflection on participants' prior exposure to technology, allowing us to adapt our research methods. For safety needs, we focus on ensuring participants understand the risks involved and feel secure during our research. In terms of relationship needs, we consider whether participants, like younger children, require a support person during research. For self-esteem needs, our question urges researchers to explore and acknowledge participants' social identities, ensuring that they feel supported. And finally, for self-actualization, we emphasize understanding participants' values and goals to better align our research. We invite you to read the paper for a comprehensive look at these guiding questions. In conclusion, our framework aims to guide researchers when working with vulnerable groups. We encourage researchers to always investigate the barriers that their vulnerable groups or participants face and use our framework as a guide when working with these groups. We also encourage researchers to respect each community's unique rituals and practices when working with them. Lastly, we invite the community to expand upon our framework by considering other technology needs beyond those in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. With this, we say thank you for listening, and we welcome any questions or feedback.